Matty Fresh on the track up estate. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate, Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Dylan in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and ballin' like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
And welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball. You know, I never want to start the intro. After that, I just want to listen to it again. Like, I just want to sit there. But
wait, real quick today, but we should wish Matty Fresh a belated happy birthday. Wednesday today is his birthday. So I saw somebody who was not in the top 10 Twitter account, Penn State Twitter accounts, tweeted that out. So thanks to that person.
All right, jeez. Yeah. All right. So happy birthday, Matty Fresh. Thank you again for helping us out. So Alec and Nate back here, and this is our very, very biased Penn State episodes. So for that, we brought in Morgan from the Basic Blues podcast, who we're really excited to have on. Morgan, what's up?
Not much, man. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to talk Penn State football. We're 8 days out from the Purdue game, so obviously a lot of updates have happened this summer. So I'm excited to dive into it with you guys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, by the time this comes out, it will be exactly a week, which is it's crazy to think about. Time is flying with the Thursday game. So I want to get right into it. The big question marks in this team seem to be on offense, as we know. When Clifford, once he got hurt last year, they really didn't move the ball at all. They were barely moving the ball before that because they couldn't run the ball. So for you guys, like, what needs to change for this offense to be better? I mean, I know the answer, but what do you guys think?
I did look at some stats on what it was like before and after Sean Clifford got hurt. So passing, before he got hurt, they were 7.4 yards per attempt. After, they were 6.4. So to put that into context, if the 7.4 finished the year, they would have been 68th in the country. So like basically middle of the road. The 6.4 is 108th. So the fall off, even though he played almost every snap, every game after that, the passing game took a major hit. And then in yards per play, they were 5.9 before he got hurt and 5.1 after. The ranks would have been 53 or 101. So like for me, it can't be like stated enough that Sean Clifford needs to stay healthy, and he is the key to success or failure for this offense, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think sustaining longer drives this year is a big key as well. I felt like the team went 3 and out way too often. Again, the defense was on the field a lot last season, and the defense was really good. Probably statistically, they would have been better if they had more of a rest, you would think. But I think they need to be able to sustain drives against Purdue, especially. You think with a team that's not really known for their defense, got to see them kind of have those long, drawn-out drives. Clifford had a lot of those in 2019. You think back to like the Indiana game in 2019 where he's just driving and milking the clock and running the ball, mixing all kinds of plays in. I think just sustaining longer drives is a huge key to just help this offense go further in 2022.
Yeah, and you do bring up a good point about the sustaining drives because Jordan Stout's gone. I think people took that for granted at times last year, just how easy it was for that guy to punt the football and pin the other team deep. And I think that also played a role in why the defense was good. But they do need to move the ball a little more because the guy isn't there to spin the ball inside the 5 every punt anymore. Like that is something they're going to miss. So they do need to move further into opponent territory. Even if they don't score, you got to try to move the ball, give your defense some more room to work with.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just it's really challenging when, as a fan, when you're watching the game, you get excited for the offense, especially, I think about Wisconsin last year. You're kind of waiting for one of those long drives to happen or waiting for them to get momentum. And then like after the first half of the game, you're like, is this all there is? Is there more? And then you felt like after the Auburn game last year, the creativity kind of went down a notch from an offensive perspective. I think about obviously the Wildcat formation with Tyler Warren, but Jahan Dotson throws a pass in that game, which was never seen again. Right. Caden Wallace split out as a wide receiver in a couple of formations. Just having fun with it, having fun with the game plan and having all kinds of weapons involved in the passing and the running game, which was almost non-existent last year. So, hopefully a little bit more creativity from Mike Yurcich this year will go a long way as well to help sustain those drives.
Yeah. And real quick on that. I mean, last year I think was absolutely an outlier for him. So they averaged 106 rushing yards per game, which is far and away the worst of any team that he's ever had. So his lowest before that was the 2015 Oklahoma State team, which was like 125 a game. So something needs to get fixed there. He's been all the way up in the close to the 200s with Texas. So, I think last year was an outlier year. The offensive line should be better. Everything that they say in camp is that it's going to be better. So you limit tackles for loss. You get the running game going a little bit more. And then, that is how you sustain drives, I think, right? You don't put yourself in negative positions and stuff. So.
Yeah. And you both kind of brought this up. This is maybe like one of the deepest skill position teams we've seen at Penn State. I know there were times where, like in 2016, where the starters were just super talented, and then maybe the drop off, like especially behind Gesicki, like the drop off was like no one else. 2016, no other tight end caught a ball outside of Gesicki. This year, you have 3 tight ends you think can play. You have maybe 4 or 5 receivers they like, and they have 3, maybe possibly 4 with Devin Ford running backs they like. I just feel like the amount of options they have, this might be the deepest we've seen for Franklin here. I don't know what you guys think. For me, I've been thinking about that. I think the amount of options they have to play with is just through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super talented group. Going into last season, I felt like the tight end room had a lot of hype going into it. And then I think Brenton Strange ended the year with 25 receptions or something as a tight end one. That's just unacceptable, especially the production you're getting from Gesicki and Pat Freiermuth over the years. Like that felt like Sean Clifford's security blanket, the tight end position. Mm-hmm. And last year, although they are very talented and the group will be talented this year as well, you got to see those guys get more involved and spreading the ball around the field a little bit more. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I love the receiver room this year. All the hype around the incoming freshman and the running back that we are, waiting to see next week. And obviously Kayvon Lee and Devin Ford coming back. And, I'm excited for Sean Clifford to have a lot of options around him because this is the prove it year, obviously his 6th season, but this is the year I think Sean Clifford, there's no excuse almost. If the offensive line plays well, he's got to deliver for Penn State, for the fans to kind of, send him off correctly and for the fans to have that trust factor and say, all right, Sean Clifford was a good Penn State quarterback.
I agree. Brenton Strange last year, 20 catches for 225 yards and 3 touchdowns. So not what you're looking for out of your top tight end. Now Theo Johnson had 19 catches for 213. So basically the same. The one thing that I'll contest a little bit for what Morgan just said, right? I think last year Sean Clifford absolutely played good until he got hurt, right? Like if that injury doesn't happen, I think the season goes much differently. So, you don't want him, or you want him to play good, and he did play good last year, and it's kind of things that were outside of his control a little bit which caused issues. So, he can do it. He's demonstrated that he can, and he will do it this year. I have all the confidence in the world, or hope, I guess, one of the other.
Yeah, I think he gets so much unnecessary hate, especially last year. 100%. A toughness factor. I think about him playing against Illinois, playing against Michigan when he's just getting destroyed and has no time to throw and just keeps getting up, keeps coming back in the game. Has no quit in them. I don't know how many quarterbacks across the country, when the team's failing, would be willing to sacrifice their body and potentially any future football career as well. So that's one thing you can never take away from Sean is his toughness and his dedication to the team.
Yeah, that's well said. I do think people maybe, right when he got hurt against Iowa, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Sean Clifford." Like when they saw Roberson play, they're like, "I was wrong about you." And then a week later, they lose to Illinois, and everyone just goes back to hating the guy again.
Yeah, with just broken ribs, right? And then 2 weeks after that against Ohio State, come on.
Yeah. So but the one thing to you guys' points again, I think everyone trusts the quarterback room behind him a lot more this year than last year. I mean, we saw Veyu. Say we won about Rutgers. It's a Big Ten team. He ripped them apart. He's a year older. He's, more ready. And then you have obviously Aller and Prebula, who everyone loves. So, I think they went from maybe having 1.5 options last year to 3.5 or all 4 options this year. I'm a lot more. I don't want Sean to go down, but I'm a lot more confident in the team if it does happen.
The next person up will not have 3 false starts and like 6 plays or something like that. I guarantee you that. Right?
Yeah, I think he's going to win the job at UConn, and obviously they play this Saturday against Utah State. So if he does win the job, obviously looking forward to watching him actually play a full game as a starter and see how he does. I'm very curious to see how capable he is as a starting quarterback. But yeah, man, I'm excited for. Obviously, if Christian Veilleux gets any playing time this year, he looked so strong last year. And you got to think, again, he's got the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row, just like Cliff. So he's got to have learned this offense on another level. And he looked really comfortable last year as a true freshman. And you got to remember, he didn't really get to play a lot in 2020 with high school football and COVID and everything like that. So I'm very high on Christian Veilleux. And if he does get a chance to play, hopefully it's like garbage time because Cliff is fine. But if he does get to play, I totally agree with you. I'm much more confident in the backup quarterback position this year. And so, again, just from a depth standpoint, makes you feel more confident if something does happen.
Yeah. And like you said about Veilleux not playing his senior year, I think there's a chance he's better than we think because he was rated like in 88, 89, fringe 4-star on the recruiting rankings. But if he plays his senior year and tears it up and he's like a 93, a 94, 4-star, people's opinions of him is probably entirely different. He could actually be better than we know because the rankings were so skewed that year because of COVID.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be a really interesting battle next spring, next fall with Veilleux and Alar and Prbula. And then having Jackson Smollett come in as well. It's going to be a very interesting room. I hope everyone stays so they can push each other and get stronger. But that's going to be a really fun battle to watch in 2023 as well.
How many of those guys are there in 2024 out of the 4 of them?
I got to think someone transfers I think the loser almost, I don't know. I don't mean to speculate, but I would assume the loser. Like if Veilleux doesn't win, he's good enough to start at probably a lot of programs across the country. The transfer portal is such a big deal now. And same with Allard. Do you sit for 2 years? Are you willing to sit for 2 years? I don't know. You're a 5-star recruit, super talented guy. I can't imagine he sits there on the bench for 2 years and doesn't play.
Yeah.
One other thing that the offense needs to improve this year. Last year, they were 110th in red zone scoring. So for every red zone attempt, they scored 4.2 points. The average is like 4.8. 2017, just for comparison, they scored 5.8. So that's going like that's a big difference. Everybody thought 2020 was bad when we would, hurl fades to Parker Washington in the end zone that would just get knocked down or thrown through the stands by Tommy Stevens or whoever, right? But not Tommy Stevens, Will Levis.
Yeah.
But that has to get fixed. They have not been a good team when they're scoring this low in red zone attempts. So look for that to somehow improve. Maybe the running game again. But now you got a little bit of a question with kicking too, right? Who's going to be the place kicker? And that certainly impacts that red zone scoring number as well.
Yeah, I feel like Penninger was so strong in 2019. And then when obviously 2020 was such a mess for the team in general, but Penninger took like a massive step backwards. And then almost to maximize Jordan Stout's NFL potential, he kind of, he has the ability. He proved that he could do it in 2020. And he does well at it last year as far as field goal kicking for the most part. So I'm interested to see where Jake Penninger is mentally, if he does end up winning the job. And Shadak looks really good too. I thought he looked good in the blue-white scrimmage this year. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of an inexperienced special teams unit, which we haven't really had to deal with over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, we've had a lot of vets playing back there, Gillikin, Stout, Tyler Davis before that. A lot of guys that played a lot of ball. So this first time we got new kicker, new punter, and new place kicker all in the same year. So that's gonna be something that I think it is definitely an underrated aspect as a question mark that I think people are kind of overlooking that needs to be looked at, because the second then they miss one, everyone will be talking about it. But we know how that goes. Yeah. But like you said about the red zone, I think that does come down to running the ball. Like I was watching a couple games, highlights from last year. It's just getting stuffed at like the 5, going nowhere. run
fake
again.
field goal, right,
Yeah,
from the 3 or whatever. and
run
then
again, it doesn't go anywhere, and then you have to pass on third
Yeah.
down. Like I think they ran into too many of those situations last year. I hope Singleton and his speed is a difference. I hope Katron Allen's kind of inside power running ability is a difference. And I also thought Kayvon Lee at times, looked better than I think people remember. I think the problem is he's just such a guy that I feel like needs a hole. He's not much of that, make my own play type guy. He's
Same
more of,
TVH.
yeah. I think in offensive line is actually going to really benefit him. He's someone who could actually break out if they give him some room.
But this is where the tight ends come into play too, right? And then you got kind of unknowns like Malik Mega, who's whatever 6'6" and dunk on a 13-foot rim or whatever. So there are additional weapons that might come into play here. So
yeah,
it'll be exciting. But like Morgan said before, that creativity and having the willingness to try things as an offensive coordinator is going to be very important here, and not just get into some rut.
Yeah, for sure. I think Katron Allen's just he's a wild card running back coming in this year. You can use him in those power formations maybe a little bit more. I think Kayvon Lee tries sometimes to be that agility back when he really could be a better power back. And I think Katron Allen kind of knows what he's good at, from what I've seen anyways, from his high school film and obviously in fall camp. So having a wrecking ball sort of running back in the backfield this year, using him in the red zone a little bit more, hopefully that's a big boost. I'm excited that all three, and obviously possibly Devin Ford as well, are going to play because they all have kind of a different skill set. But yeah, just being able to run the football against Purdue, especially, you have to imagine they're going to be able to run the ball better than they were last year. Hopefully we can get that 100-yard rusher from this group, because that feels like obviously it's been a long time since we had one of those, which feels slightly embarrassing being Penn State and not having a 100-yard rusher.
Yeah.
But I think Katron Allen is going to be a really nice red zone addition for this team too.
Yeah, I love the combo of Singleton and Allen long term. I think they complement each other well because they are so different. Singleton's kind of that home run guy, and then Allen comes from IMG, who plays a pro system. So Allen is very familiar with catching the ball out of the backfield, blocking. So that is, when guys go to IMG, that is an added benefit they get. You're a little more prepared for college ball. So I do think they are a good complement for each other. All right. So I think the last part of the offense we obviously have to touch on is the offensive line. I know everyone has probably seen the screenshots of the Michigan game last year, where it looked like the Michigan defensive line was blocking for Sean Clifford, and the Penn State offensive line was doing the attacking, because that's what it looked like. Sacked 10 times in that game, 8 or 10 times, something like that. Just insane. I think kind of the general consensus I've got from reading stuff is that people kind of feel there's an addition by subtraction on that line, especially in the interior.
Left tackle too, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like, from what I've read, what I've heard, people feel that way. Obviously, Wormley got hurt before the year last year and didn't play, and as it turns out, they're like, yeah, he was going to start at right guard. Like, we really like him. So it looks like he might be back to starting this year, so I'm interested to see how that goes. But, I mean, you have him. You have Scruggs, who's probably their best offensive lineman, moving over to center, which should help the run game. And then it sounds like there's a battle between Tangwell and the transfer Norzad for the other guard spot. So, I mean, I think just those three out of those 4 guys being in the middle there is going to make a huge difference, because I feel like all those guys kind of have a toughness to them, a little on the nastier side, which I feel like you need as a guard. You got to be able to get in there and hit somebody and push somebody back. So I think those 3 being in the middle there is actually going to do a lot of good for this team.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for the offensive line this year. I think having fresh faces on there is going to be great for everybody. And I really like Olu Fashanu a lot. He looked really good. I know it's one game, so the sample size isn't very big, but he looked good against an SEC team in Arkansas. He held his own. Tangwell looked really good in that game as well. So I'm excited for whoever wins that battle between Tangwell and Norzad. Got to imagine Norzad's going to play in some capacity. You don't transfer to a school as a grad transfer just to sit on the bench and go to Penn State. Like, he's going to be used, and it sounds like they're moving him from guard to center. He played right tackle at Cornell. He had 20 consecutive starts there. So I'm excited about those guys. I said this the other night on my show. I just feel like it's a group of 5 that really want to be out there, that have that desire to be good offensive linemen, that want to do well. And now, no disrespect at the group last year, but I'm not sure on the later half of last season that all those guys really wanted to be out there at some points. So I think it's guys that have a desire to be on the offensive line, have a desire to start and play for Penn State. And I think that if they can come together, man, this entire thing, as far as season predictions and where the national media thinks Penn State will land, is going to be a completely different story because, and we talked about it already tonight, but the weapons that this team has, Clifford has time, he can deliver. I mean, it's a completely different team if we just have a decent offensive line.
Yep, and there's been some good video, tackle versus defensive end video with Olu Fashanu against Adiza Isaac and Chop Robinson and these guys, and he looks good, right? I mean, the D linemen are winning some of the reps, but like there's been a lot of positive discussion about Olu Fashanu, Caden Wallace too. So I think, I don't know, man, this has to be better. It has to be better than last year. Last year they gave up like the 30th most tackles and sacks or tackles for loss and sacks in the country. So it has to be better than that.
Yeah. I love the aggressive recruiting approach as well going into 2023. Like knowing that long term, we still need a solution. Troutline and the staff goes out and gets monsters on the offensive line that are coming in next year. And I feel better about the depth. I know everyone's a little bit afraid of the unknown players that haven't really had a lot of playing time throughout their career, but I get excited about those guys because obviously they're at Penn State for a reason. So, yeah, I think the only area of concern on the offensive line, in my opinion, is probably right tackle. Caden Wallace needs to take that next step. The Michigan game, I think he was all sorts of messed up going against Hutchinson and Ajabo, but yeah, I hope he takes that next step because I think he can be a really, really talented player. But he definitely needs to improve coming off of a subpar, 2021 season.
Yeah. And really quick before we go to defense, I just want to say, like you said about the depth, I think tackle is the one position where you can't afford to lose a guy. I think there's a lot more unknowns behind Fashanu and Wallace than there is in the interior. So that, that's the one thing I think maybe at this time last year, if you asked who's like the most valuable player on the team in terms of can't go down, you probably would have said Sean Clifford. I think this year there's an argument that it's the 2 tackles on offense.
Yeah. Limited experience behind them. And it's just you can't really slap anyone in there and have them learn that job on the fly. It takes, time to learn that technique and be in the right position and understand all the calls and formations with the RPO style offense. So yeah, it's really challenging if one of those guys go down. Thankfully, Norzad has played tackle, so that does give you some leverage if he ends up being that, utility lineman. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that just haven't been able to really play in big time ball games. So got to hope and pray that everybody stays healthy this year, especially on the tackles on the offensive line.
Yeah. So for defense, this group obviously carried the team last year for the most part. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. And then, they have a lot of guys going to the NFL then. Tangelo, Ebikidi, Lucada, Smith, Brooks, Brisker, Tyree Castro Fields, like a lot of guys that played a lot of valuable snaps for this team are gone. But at the same time, I almost feel like pretty good about this defense.
It's better almost, right?
And Brent, I should say Brent Pry is gone. Manny Diaz is now the defensive coordinator. But I don't know. I think linebacker could still be. We could talk about that. But like the defensive line, I tweeted this. Like I think they honestly have 3 different rotations of the whole front 4 that they would believe in. Like they're probably 6 deep at defensive end this year, thanks to Adiza Isaac coming back from injury, Chop Robinson transferring in, and Danny Dennis-Sutton coming in as a true freshman. I like that group a lot more than I did this time last year, honestly. And the defensive tackles, you don't want to say that Mustapher going down was a good thing because it clearly wasn't. But if there's a silver lining to it, it's that Izzard and Ellie's behind him saw a ton of time down the stretch, and those guys now, they know what to expect. So I kind of like the defensive line better. The secondary, I know replacing Brisker is tough, but they really like Wheatley. They really like Reed. Wheatley was the takeaway king in the spring and the fall camp. So, that's pretty impressive. And then, of course, Joey Porter Jr., who looks like he's about to be the highest drafted Penn State cornerback ever, which all he has to do is go in the top like 60, I think. Because I'm pretty sure the highest rated corner from Penn State went in the middle of the 3rd round, which is crazy. So, I mean, they have him. They love Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, too. And then Daquan Hardy, for his role, for what he does at the nickel, he does a hell of a job for that. I just think it's a lot of guys that know their role. I don't know. I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that.
I think the biggest loss is Ellis Brooks, right? Out of all those guys you mentioned, and he wasn't the best player, but that is the position where they had they're going to struggle the most to backfill him, right? Because he played like hell, and he was very tough. And now you got a big question mark there between Tyler Elton and Kobe King, and still they haven't heard a lot out of camp or 24/7. Our inside sources at 24/7 haven't told us much about how that battle is going. So Curtis Jacobs, Jonathan Sutherland's going to be fine. Like I said, the secondary is fantastic, and the defensive line is as good as it's been in a very long time. So just kind of middle linebacker is going to be the question, and how that gets filled. But like we talked about last time too, I think having really, really solid interior defensive line can hide that a little bit, because they can hold up some of the linemen, and that middle linebacker can go do his thing without getting caught up. So hopefully that spares us in the beginning, at least first few games.
Yeah, I know a lot of people talk about Manny Diaz running like a 4-2-5 style defense potentially, again, against Purdue, Ohio State, those really heavy passing teams, maybe taking one of those linebackers off the field during those situations, having Daquan Hardy on the field to boost up the secondary at the same time. Maybe that kind of, hides that as well on some level. But yeah, that's definitely the area of concern for me too, is it's just an unknown person playing middle linebacker. We haven't been able to see Elston or Kobe King play a lot. I think it's going to be awesome to see Kobe and Kalen King on the field at the same time. That's obviously going to be a story in itself as the season goes on, if Kobe King ends up winning or just playing a lot in general. But I love the defensive line. All the guys you listed, Alec, and obviously having Zane Durant too is another true freshman defensive tackle I'm excited for. Hakeem Beamon coming back.
He's another one,
I'm really excited about those guys. And I love the potential of having a lineup of like Chop Robinson, Hakeem Beamon, Zane Durant, and DDS. I think that'd be a really crazy 4-rush front. And so I love the defensive line. There's so much depth there. A lot of guys that, Smith Bilbert and Jordan Vanderberg that got to play in the bowl game last year with everybody out. So that was really special too. And I definitely think Penn State is one of the best secondaries in the Big Ten. I really feel like that's how it is. And I'm excited to see kind of what happens there. And I'm excited what they can do, because outside of Iowa and Ohio State, I feel like they're right there with one of the best secondaries in the country. So there's a lot there. And I love Zakee Wheatley's story coming over from cornerback, moving to safety. I can't imagine that's an easy transition to have as a player, but being willing and able to do whatever you want or do whatever it takes for the team to be successful is really cool. And Coach Poindexter has just been great developing those safety prospects, those young guys. See the clips of him coaching people up. I love Coach Poindexter, and I'm very glad that he didn't leave to, take a head coaching job somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if you want to keep up with those Ohio State receivers that we talked about last week, you got to be able to defend in the secondary, and you got to be able to get pressure on Stroud. And so defensive end, cornerbacks, two most important positions, I think, if you want to win the Big Ten on defense, just because if you want to win the Big Ten, you got to get through Ohio State. So I think that is a good point. As you said, probably a 4-2-5 in most cases. If those two are Curtis Jacobs and Abdul Carter, I would absolutely love that. Carter, obviously a true freshman, but the reviews have been through the roof about him. Just insane athlete, probably the best athlete we've had play linebacker since Micah Parsons. It sounds like they're really high on him. If you could find a way to just make those two the linebackers, I feel like they'll be pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, definitely. I think talks of this the other night, but you don't give out that number 11 to just anybody.
Yeah.
He's wearing it for a reason, and obviously it sounds like everybody's like high on him coming in, and I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table this year. I think he looks up to par, and it's definitely harder to, I think, introduce a freshman linebacker into the game versus like a freshman running back. But I'm definitely interested to see how they can rotate those guys in. Hopefully against Purdue, just because they're so pass heavy that maybe they'll, defense will be winded and they have to kind of rotate linebackers in or whatever the case may be. And so he gets to have that playing time early on. But if they do go 4-3 and if it's Sutherland or Carter or whoever, they're definitely excited to see what he can do on the field.
Say what you will about Jonathan Sutherland, right? He's been here a long time, but he's played a lot too, right? So the experience is meaningful. And depending on like in the box, like you don't want him covering Jackson Smith and Jigba, but in the box, right. He's decent run stopper and he's aggressive. So I mean, he gets a little bit too much flack in my opinion.
Yeah, I think maybe for playing safety, people say maybe too slow for coverage and that, but move him down.
Yeah, exactly.
In the linebacker spot, it might work out a little better for him. So, we'll have to see how that goes. I do think though they're going to try to go to 2 linebackers as much as they possibly can and bring, Hardy or Dixon on the field more. All right. So it is time. The win total for Penn State this year, the number I see a zillion times is 8.5. I think that's a great number because I think a lot of people think 8 or 4 or 9-3. So where are you two at with the record and the 8.5?
Nate, I'll let you go first.
I don't know. In the last week, I said they were going to make the playoffs. So I don't know. I am eternally optimistic. I want things to happen. I still think that they're gonna do a hell of a lot. They're gonna beat the 8.5. I think quite easily, and I have them at least 10-2. Like. Ohio State is obviously the toughest game out of this. Michigan, I don't know. Michigan, I don't think is. We'll see, right? But I don't think they're quite as good as their record indicated last year. And then what else you got? You got Minnesota, who's going to be better than people think, I suppose, and
at home.
Yeah, at home, whiteout, right? So
Michigan State's at home.
Yep. If they win next week. And they beat Auburn, and they will win over 10 games.
Yeah, that's fair. I have them. Yeah. I have them right at 8-4, 9-3, something like that. That's kind of where I've been leaning. I know that's kind of a fair weather answer because it's like everything you see from many Penn State accounts, like 9-3 this year. But I don't know. I feel like if they lose to Michigan. I know it's the whiteout and again it's against Minnesota and whatnot, but I could see them just being down. Like I know it's the whiteout, so it's almost impossible to be down, but just not being prepared or whatever. Auburn's kind of just a weird game in general for me. I think on paper they're better, but just going on the road early in the season, maybe not having everything figured out could be a potential loss as well. So there's definitely some games in there where I could probably do a coin toss, but I'll go 9-3. I'll take the over the 8.5 wins, but I could easily see like 8-4, 9-3. I hope they're good. Obviously, I want Penn State to be good. I think if they were 9-3 this year, I'd be really happy with that coming off of 2 really middle of the pack seasons. So I'd be pumped if they were 9-3 and they played in one of those New Year's 6 bowls or something like that somehow, but. There's a lot of toss-up games there. I think obviously Ohio State's tough. Who knows what Michigan State will look like at the end of the season? It's too far out to tell, in my opinion. But obviously their defense didn't look great last year. They lose a big piece in Kenneth Walker. So, there's a lot there. But I just think that back-to-back with I guess those 3-game stretch, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, that's just tough. If you get away with those, like 2 wins in that situation, 2 of the 3, I think this team could be pretty successful this year.
So Auburn's win number is 5.5.
Yeah,
you got to be the team. You got to be the team like that's got a 5.5 win total. So I don't know. People are not high on them. Like they have problems right now. They named TJ Finley the starting quarterback, and he had he got arrested like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. It was like the week after he was arrested, or it was like a day after he got the cool NIL deal with Amazon. He was arrested.
Exactly.
Then, a week later, he got like the starting job. So it was like all kinds of news coming out from the situation. I'm not high on Finley. Again, we talked about the linebacker situation. I think that's where Auburn could maybe potentially gash Penn State. We say I have two really good running backs, as we've talked about in the past, but just going there on the road, I know Penn State's used to the kind of rowdy environments. Like, that's why I think Auburn and Michigan are just tough.
Yeah.
Michigan's that maze out. I think it's going to be at night potentially. And then going to Jordan Hare at 3:30 in September.
Yeah, that's hot. It's going to be hot.
It's sweaty, a lot of cramping. You know, someone goes out for a while, they score one of those wild touchdowns during that time. You never really know. So I think 8-4, 9-3. I'll lean 9-3 tonight, but definitely on the fence about it.
Yeah, and my prediction had it right. I put 9-3, so I'm going to stick by it. I have them losing at Auburn. I don't necessarily know if they lose at Auburn. I just couldn't find. I have them losing to Michigan and Ohio State too. I couldn't find a third loss that I absolutely love. Love a loss, but that I absolutely think is going to happen. I just think that there's always just seems to be a slip up along the way that we always scratch our heads at. So I have it in there. I don't know. I think they could avoid it possibly if they get through. I feel like we said this last year too. It's if you get through Wisconsin and Ball State and Indiana, I love this team. And they got through them, and then of course, it didn't really change anything. But
again, it did. They were killing Iowa.
I know with
right?
Clifford.
So,
I know. But that's the other thing. You don't know what's going to happen with injuries or something where you can't say, "Oh, we cleared this team. We're kind of coasting." So I think we need to maybe stop that. But I do think they're going to be better than last year. I think Clifford is going to surprise people by. I think they just forget how he played before he was hurt. I really do. I think people kind of see the version of him that wasn't very mobile, that had a not so good offensive line and had an offensive coordinator that kind of seemed to give up. Like Morgan said, they were so creative in the Auburn game, and then it just kind of went away. It was weird. So I'm looking for big things out of him. And then I think this defensive end rotation is going to be good because I feel like they could legitimately go 5 or 6 deep, keep those guys fresh, and the quarterbacks in the fourth quarter are going to pay for it.
The one thing Morgan mentioned about the 3-game stretch, so it's October 15th, Michigan, 22nd, Minnesota, 29th, Ohio State. Before Michigan's a bye, and the team typically under Franklin has not done particularly well coming off a bye. And that's a big game away, right? Which the big game away records after a bye is probably very, very poor. So hopefully they break that streak this year. You'd almost rather see them play Northwestern the week exactly before and have the bye before Northwestern or something, but that's not how it worked out. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think Sean Clifford's running ability is just such a big part of his game. And when he wasn't able to do it last year, you kind of forget how mobile he is. It's weird. Everyone's like, oh, he's not the fastest guy, but somehow he outruns middle linebackers and safeties at some points. But I don't know, when he's decisive and he knows he wants to run with intention, he really does a good job at it. And when he can't move because he's afraid of it getting a rib shot or whatever and being out for the season, it just completely changes his play style. So I think a mobile Sean Clifford, going in the season healthy will be, I think fans will kind of see that other side of him again, hopefully. But there's always going to be those people that are just kind of trolls and never have faith in Clifford for whatever reason maybe, and never say he never wins the big game or whatever. So I hope he can shut up some of those people this year because he's definitely super talented. He's going to start every game if he's healthy this year. So, I'm a fan of Penn State, and obviously whoever the quarterback is, I'm a fan of them too. So I want Sean to have a really good season. I think he can. I think he's capable. And, I think Yursich said a couple weeks ago that Sean knows the bones of this offense or something like that. So I don't know, hopefully him having the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row, it's something everyone talks about too, but hopefully that's a difference maker for him, just being more comfortable in the offense. You've gone through that Big Ten gauntlet last year with the same offense and, a lot of those guys coming back. So it's the same language and you can add some of those wrinkles over the summer and maybe work some of that stuff in too. So I'm pumped for this year, man. I really, really want the team to do well, be better. I hate when the national media hates on Penn State or when everyone's kind of laughing at Penn State. I want to get out of that funk and get back to the, New Year's 6, 10, 11 win teams.
Yeah, that was well said. Well, Morgan, thank you for coming on. Why don't you let the people know where they could find you?
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you for having me. This has been a blast. I'm on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Basic Blues Pod. And obviously I'm on YouTube as well for my show. It's at Basic Blues Podcast on YouTube. If you search that, try to make an episode every Thursday. That's been my goal for the last 2 months or so, and I'm going to try to keep that up throughout football season. So again, appreciate you guys having me on tonight. This is a lot of fun, and hopefully this season will be, better than last season.
I mean, we hope. I like we just talked about it. I think it will. We made a lot of good points as to why it will. Still, Nate's picking the playoff, but the rest of us are we'll just take the 9-10 wins. We'll be happy. But
if we lose to Purdue, Alec can get Maddie Fresh to make a new song, and it'll say my boys Morgan and Alec, and then I will not be on the podcast anymore because I'll be disappointed. So
if that happens, man, I don't know how sad I'll be, but it'll be hard to go to work on Friday, that's for sure. I'll be down with bounce, man. But positive thoughts, boys.
Yeah. All right, Morgan. Thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
All right, night. All right, that was fun. That was good.
Great.
We got everything out, but we're not done here because it's been a while. But we have the man here. We have Tyler.
What's up, you dumb fuck?
Jeez, all right.
Yeah, the tone changes very fast sometimes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
God.
That one's got to get an E on it before.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we get into what we were going to talk about, there was some news today that Penn State is going to experiment, I guess, with alcohol at the Central Michigan game. Tyler, what are your thoughts on Beaver Stadium having alcohol?
I love the move. Honestly,
I knew you would.
It doesn't affect me because I'm still going to sneak alcohol in and save $22 a beer. But the people that do it right, Penn State's going to bring in a lot of money from this. And I think that's huge, especially with the NIL game coming into play now. Mm-hmm. Any additional revenue is going to help out the program.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And people on Twitter, Alec was fighting with some kid who said it's bad for
he's like 17.
Maybe, right? But people come in drunk anyway already, right? So now it's not and they're sneaking stuff in, like you said. So I think the people who are responsible will stay responsible and not get in fights, and the people who are already prone to get in fights are going to get in fights anyway. So who cares?
People are already hammered when they go in there, or like he said, they're drinking in there anyway. It's not going to change anything. No. It's just going to make more money. Yeah, which is good if we're going to put it towards new bathrooms and NIL. And
see how it goes though, because I have a feeling they're not going to sell it on the student section side of the stadium. Yeah. So if students want it, they're going to have to travel to the other side of the stadium just to make it difficult because there is so many underage students. I mean, 1/4 generally of the student section is going to be able to drink. So they're not going to make it easy accessible. So kids with fakes and kids are up there being drunk assholes. It's going to be for the mature adult fans there.
Yeah.
And it's not I think pretty sure Ohio State sells that was the last away game I went to. Iowa does not. So it's not unheard of, right? I mean, this is not like a groundbreaking thing. It's just kind of catching up with the times a little bit.
Yeah. I think there's only 3 or 4 Big Ten teams. I think maybe Illinois. That do.
Oh.
No, maybe it might be a little more. I think I know Illinois does. Indiana might. I don't know. There's a couple that do, but
for some reason I think Michigan State does, but I'm not sure.
I've never been there. I do not know. So yeah, that'll be something to look forward to in a couple of weeks. That is the 4th game on Penn State's schedule, Central Michigan. So they're having a home game before they do this, which I guess they kind of want to see how long lines will be with other stuff and see how they should do it. But oh well. So we have a fan question from our friend Mark, who we talk to all the time, and he asked, and what is the best bar in State College and what is the worst? Instead of just calling people out for being the worst, I thought I would just let you rank however many top 5, top 10, whatever you want to do, all of them. I think there's 14, 15, whatever you want to do. You let me know what your State College bar rankings are. It's all yours.
The best part about this question is I actually did this ranking about 2 months ago just because I was bored at work one day.
I think we were talking about this, yeah.
So I have a full breakdown of the 14 bars. And I guess there's only 13 now because I didn't know Saloon closed. And I guess that's just showing I'm kind of getting out of my State College ways, which is a little upsetting. So I guess there's 13 now that I'm aware of, unless any new ones have come into play that I haven't heard of.
Not that I know of.
But the best way to do this is you got to have a summer breakdown and a winter breakdown.
That is true.
And I guess summer's hard because not a lot of students there in the summer. It's really just for the townies and the students that work year round and school or at their job there don't want to go home. But it really just like some of the bars just have a whole different dynamic from summer to during the school year, besides the 3 weekends a year that it's nice for students that are there only during the classes times. So how many do you want? Because I can go top 5, top 10, all 13, whatever you'd like.
I mean,
it's going to be a lot to do without the list showing.
Yeah, I know we don't have a graphic for it, but you know, if we're gonna, can't do top 10 if there's 13. I think you got to do all 13. So.
All right, so I'll go through them quick and give a little rundown. I'll do the winter breakdown since that's when most students are there, and then I'll give my little summer lineup after.
Sounds good.
So this is all personal preference too, just because a couple bars have kind of screwed me over in the past. Now we're being kicked out just with buying too many drinks for people I shouldn't have been buying drinks for. But anyways, all right, we'll start off with number 1. My personal favorite is Pickles. And there's reasons behind this. Pickles is in a great location, right on Allen Street. It has an outside patio they just added, and the drinks are insanely cheap. They have, I think it's $3 well drinks no matter when you go. There is $2.50 tequila shots during happy hour, $3 green tea shots all times. $3 Long Island's, $3 painkillers. So it's deals all around, and you can get there pretty sober and leave drunk for about $20, which is never an issue because they do heavy pour there as well. So I'm always a big fan of Pickles. The only downside to that is it's a little small, but adding that outside patio that they did increased the space a good amount.
It's good. Yeah.
Number 2, I got Champs, and this is for the Greek life people that watch this at Penn State. I'm sorry, it's not P-Man's. I got Champs too, and that's strictly because they just have a 2,000 person capacity. They can get so many more people in there. They have 2 large bars. Me, I'm a little spoiled. I know most of the bartenders, so I can kind of just scream their name, and they'll both give me drinks before people. But always live music. So many people upstairs, downstairs, lots of games to do, just room to like interact and move around, which when I'm drunk, I like going around and interacting with people and making conversations and doing dumb shit. So big fan of Champs at 2. 3, I will go with P-Man just because a lot of people do go there. It is a pretty popular bar. Drink deals are there. They're pretty good. Not super expensive. And a lot of people, do end up going there. So it's always like, you're going to know someone there. You're going to have good conversations. You're going to get drunk for pretty decently cheap. 4 is going to be a hot take, but I personally like the Gaff a lot. I got the Gaff at 4, Shandy Gaff. And it might be different now because when last time I went there, they raised their prices. So I'm a little pissed off at them. But when I was in school, it was COVID times. You could get a pitcher, like a pretty big size pitcher. I don't even know how big to say it is, but pretty good size for $6 on happy hour. So 9 to midnight, you're getting $6 pitchers of liquor, anything you want. I'd get tequila water. I'd go in there sober as can be, have 4 or 5 and leave there barely making it out down those stairs. So it's easy to black out. They have gaffioke on Wednesdays, so it's a good thing to do on a Wednesday. Most bars aren't really doing anything those nights, so that's their way to try to draw a crowd on a weeknight and make up for the weekends where everyone's going to other places. But they got a whole nice little system they're running there. 5, I got the Basement. I've never went there when I was a student. Went there last year because it closed my senior year. But just seems like kind of a nightclub, what they want for State College. Good times. $2 Long Island's from 9 to 12 on Fridays, so that's cool.
Yeah.
6, this is a hot take. This is the Brewery. Not many people know about the Brew, but the Brew is electric.
Oh god!
If you want a late night after like bars like going crazy, say like 1 o'clock, you go to the Brew. You'll never have more fun in your life. You go in there, you'll meet some of the locals, like mid-40s, just kind of doing nothing and getting hammered. You'll see the White Witch, so I hope she doesn't watch this. I know they call her that, but she is hilarious. They always have live music, which is nice. And dude, they do not know what they're doing behind the bar. So the one time we went there, me and my buddies, we got about, I don't know. I think like 9 beers each, like 27 beers between the three of us. I think they charge us like $25. It was absolutely unreal. They just lost counts. We're like, oh yeah, just like $25. We're like, okay. So can't ever go wrong with that.
Okay.
7. I got what I have at 7. 7, I have the first. They're pretty good. They got the 21st birthdays, live music. They're a little expensive there, but I mean, it's just a place to go for your 21st. So you're going to have to go there at some point. They're famous for the blowjob shots and everything like that. So place you have to go at State College and never really goes wrong. It's never a great time, but you're never like going to hate your life while you're there.
The fries are good too.
Fries are fantastic.
Fries are very good. Yeah.
8, I got Doggies. So Doggies, again, you'll see when we go to summer how much of a jump this one makes. It's known for its outside area, but inside they got a pretty good bar. Sometimes I have live music there during the school year. But yeah, nothing too crazy during the winter there, but it's solid bar.
Yeah.
9, I got the Den. Den's a little wild. You'll go there.
Yeah.
Pretty cheap drinks, but it's going to get a little wild. It's going to get crazy. There's been a lot of fights there. There's been a lot of things that probably shouldn't happen in a bar there, but cheap drinks, fun times. That's all you really need. 10, we got Cafe. Cafe, it's more of like a sit-down restaurant, so it's not like a place you're going to go. They're famous for their Cafe 210. So on February 10th, they do $2.10 drinks for the whole day or something like that. So it's always a good time doing that. But that's only one day a year.
Yeah.
11, I got Jack's. It's kind of a little pub right by Doggies. It used to be it used to be Dark Horse Tavern, right?
Yeah, I think
so. It used to be Dark Horse Tavern for any old heads watching this, but Jack's now, it's pretty solid bar. It's nothing crazy. They got sex trivia on Tuesdays, sports trivia on Thursdays, cheap drinks. What number is that? That was 11. So 12 on A's Pub. That's just McClanahan's right next to Pickles.
Okay.
Camps. Yeah, they kind of just got a self-tap station. You can drink in there. It's something to do if you're waiting to go into a bar with friends.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah.
And then 13, I got Sharky's. Again, nothing crazy. You can kind of like a bottle shop. I've never been in there like the bar area, but it seems kind of dirty and gross and didn't seem that fun. So those are the 13 bars. I got my little breakdown with them in the rankings. So again, I'll just go through them quick for the winner. I got Pickles at 1, Champs at 2, P-Man 3, Gaff 4, Basement 5, The Brew 6, First at 7, Doggies at 8, Den at 9, Cafe 10, Jack's 11, A's Pub 12, Sharky's 13.
All right, 2 things really quick. I've never been in there, honestly, but Zeno's is a bar in State College. I don't know if you've ever been in there. It's below Pickles, so I don't know where you want to put that, but
I think it's kind of similar to Sharky's, so it's probably be at the bottom there.
Okay, that's fine.
But I did hear cheap drinks there, so I've never been there. So Zeno's is one I forgot.
All right, for me, Cafe is last, just because I blame that place on why I got a kidney stone. From those iced tea pictures. 2 days later, I had a kidney stone that was very painful. I'm gonna blame it on that. So they'll be last on my list for a while. But other than that, I have to agree with most of it. I thought it was pretty solid.
Cafe has really solid food, which played a factor.
Yeah, the food.
When I get drunk, I do like to drunk eat.
Yeah.
Tyler, I think this is more effort than you put into anything. It seems like you do such a good job with these things.
I just my calling card. What can I say?
It really is.
And then I'll go through a quick little rundown for the summer. So summer at 1, it's obvious. You got to go Doggies in the summer. They have that huge outdoor area. They got live music almost every night. You can play cornhole there. There's outside tables. They got a projector going when the weather's nice. So they do movie nights in the summer, Penn State games in the fall when it's nice out. Like it's just an outside area that you want to be in. It screams day drinking when you're there.
Yeah.
2, I got Pickles, which it really got bumped up because of the fact that they built that outdoor patio. And you're just able to go inside and out, but it's still the same reasons before. It's got that cheap drinks and fun atmosphere. 3, Champs, just because they can open their doors a little bit, so you get that fresh air, but still can hold 2,000 people. So it's still going to be a place that's popping on those big weekends. 4, Cafe, because you can get that good meal. You can sit outside. You can get those pictures. They got an outside at the front and in the back. In the back, you can kind of control the music. If you're one of the first people there, they have a speaker people connect to. So that's nice. 5, I have the Den. And that's mainly because the Den's one of the few places that can actually get a crowd in the summer. So if you want to go somewhere and have like a nice lively night, there's going to be people there. 6, I got P-Man, and that's for the exact reason why P-Man dropped, is the opposite of the Den. No one really goes there in the summer besides Arts Fest when there's a bunch of students back. It's kind of a ghost town. It's more just a restaurant in the summer. It's not really a bar. So you're not going to get that lively entertainment crowd. 7's the Brew, because the Brew is going to be the Brew no matter what. 8's Basement. It's more so because it's down in literally a basement. So there's no outside. There's nothing. It's going to get hot. It's going to get sticky. It's going to get gross in there. 9's the First, kind of the same thing as the Basement downstairs. 21st, though, if you have a summer birthday, it's a good area to go to. 10, we got the Gaff. So kind of, again, it's the opposite of a basement. It's on the second story, but there's windows, but they don't really open them. So it's going to be hot. It's going to be sticky. And not many people go there in the summer. But still, they got those pitcher deals. So still a pretty cheap blackout, a lot of fun. 11, A's Pub, because they can get the fresh air. You're sitting right there. And I like how it's a self-pour taps there. And it's between Champ and Pickles. So it's a nice little meet up in pregame, have a drink before you go somewhere. 12, Sharkies. They got pool. You can grab a 6-pack. You can walk around town. Just quick stop place to go. And 13, we got Jack's, just because I've never been there in the summer. It's not much to do. It's kind of just a restaurant at that point, because there's Jack's in those last couple bars really feed off of when other places are packed and people have to go there because there's nothing else to do or go to. And they just don't get that in the summer. So.
No, yeah, I really agree with that list. I don't mind Jack's if other places are packed and stuff. I actually think it's I'm a fan of Jack. If you're there with the right group, it's cheap and they've good food if you want it, but it's just like it's hard to get people to go there. So it really needs to be a crazy day. Like the one time I was there, it's the Christmas bar crawl, and it was fun there because it was packed. And you had people to talk to, but it's not one of those days no one's there, so you're just kind of sitting there doing nothing. Right. I'm trying to think, what else did we have there? The Den was Den high. I haven't really been in. I think I've been in the Den like twice. It was okay, I guess. I don't have any problems with it. We did miss Stage West. Do you consider Stage West a bar? So here's why I didn't include them, because since I've been a freshman, I think that's the 5th different name they've had. They keep opening, closing, opening, closing. Like they're never consistent. So until they can prove consistency and stay open, I'm not going to put them in my rankings. Like they don't deserve it yet. Yeah, they don't get cred. Yeah, I do think the setup in there is kind of cool. But I'd agree. I think it's a great place. But at the same time, it's so far on East Campus that no one wants to go that way unless you're already on that end. But at the same time, students aren't going to go there unless other people are there. And no one wants to live there yet. So until they can get enough credibility that people want to go there and actively are trying to like, hey, let's go to Stage West tonight, it's not going to be a fun place to go to. I got you. Nate, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
No, because I was there in like the late 90s. So, and I don't go back that often because it's a pain in the ass to get there. So,
Let me guess, your favorite bar back then was either the Skeller or Gingerbread Man.
Yeah, exactly.
P-Mans and Doggies now.
Yeah.
Look, I wasn't born till 99 and I still know this.
My dad talks about both of them all the time. So that's why I know.
Say what, like, it is for where I live, it's just very hard to get to State College. Like, you either got to fly to Philly or Pittsburgh and then drive 3 hours.
Hey, fly to DC. We'll drive up together.
Yeah, I've been to Columbus twice in the last month. It's the most convenient city in the world to get to. You fly to the airport, like direct flights from everywhere, and then the campus is like 10 minutes from the airport. Penn State needs an airport. That is.
Yeah, they do need a bigger one. Everyone talks about that. They do need a bigger airport. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe the alcohol sales will
fund
we'll get it done.
What they need to do is put like some type of resort or attraction around the area, so there's more than just Penn State for people to go there. Yeah, like Columbus benefits that it's the state capital of Ohio, so like there's other shit to do there.
It's a big city. Yeah.
State College really is Penn State driven. If the students weren't there, half the stores would close.
Yeah,
that is true.
So, anyway. Tyler, what's your over-under for Penn State for the year?
Nate, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I think I'm in the boat with you.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
I just
All right.
I don't see a weakness on this team if the offensive line is good.
I agree.
So if the offensive line is good, I'm a big Cliff fan. I think Cliff is a very, I'm not going to say great, I'm not going to say elite, but he's a very solid, good quarterback that has played a lot of games in the Big Ten, has won a lot of games in the Big Ten. And if the offensive line provides any help to him, he's going to get the ball in the right place. All quarterbacks make some mistake, but he's not going to make them that cost us games.
Yep.
So it's all in the O-line, honestly. And if they come out firing and there's no injuries, like last year, a lot of the reason we went so bad down the stretch was how bad our team got banged up. I mean, we were missing 3 of our projected starters on the D-line. Our O-line kept changing and couldn't get any consistency in the run game. Cliff was playing with whatever he had, broken ribs, punctured lung, whatever. Like, that's going to hurt a team. So if they stay healthy and they get that, I see a lot of wins coming Penn State's way.
I agree.
Yeah, well,
I knew I liked Tyler for some reason.
Yeah, it gets started from the time this comes out, it'll be a week. So I think we're going to try to do something next Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'll be in my new place by next Wednesday, so no more hiatus for T Snides. I'm back in there.
All right.
We should preview the Purdue game or something like that.
Well, yeah, we will.
Okay, good.
Is there a way to do like a live stream? We can get a little live stream going.
There is a live stream option on here. Yes.
That would be hilarious if we did that.
That it goes through YouTube. Yeah. All right. So we'll discuss that for next week. But no, I thought good chat. The bars I mostly agreed with. I'm good with all of them. Champs is like that steady kind of always there type place. And then Pickles has really grown on me since I started hanging out with you more. I don't know if it's just because you know everybody that works there, so it's just like easier.
Oh, the best part is I don't know a single soul that works there.
Oh, you don't?
No, I learn their names and I'm like, hey, and they're like, hey. I really don't know them at all. I know Mark just because he's always there, and Jake because he's always there. And like, it's not that I know them; I know their name, and I just every time I go, they're like, oh, the regular's back.
Yeah,
so
that is true. All right, so that's gonna do it for this one. It's a pretty good episode, season preview. Hopefully, Penn State does do better than 9-3. I think we're all hoping for that. If you ever go to State College, take our bar recommendations.
Tell me
pretty good.
They'll probably give you a
tell they'll probably roll their eyes, but they'll know what you're talking about. Yes, so you'll be good for all those. All right, so for Alec, I'm Alec. For Nate, Tyler, and Alec, geez, thank you for watching our Penn State preview. We'll be back next week for Purdue preview, and I don't know, Jay Nelly doing something stupid. He went back to school. I don't think he knows where he is, but
he can't right now.
No chance. All right. Thank you for watching.
See ya.